Am I live is the question. Hello, hello, hello. And if I turn this on... This is coming to me, but I don't think it's going to the stream. Who knows? Hello? How's it going? Uh, I don't know your name. What's your name? Yeah, I can hear you. I think we all need some. I am totally down for that. So, hi, Jay. Nice to be formally introduced. Um, just to let you know, this is going to be streamed. It's live right now on my YouTube channel. So hello, say hi to the chat, say hi to everybody. Nobody really bothers, and it's not gonna be a ton of people. I just record them mostly so people can have access to them. Um, and then I kind of just get into Pokemon mode, like it's the week before Worlds. So um, I don't have any context though for what you are up to though. Like, what is your plan here today? Okay, got it. Okay, just give me 1 second. I'm going to post the link, and then I'm going to kind of give some feedback. So I'm so bad at doing. I'm multitasking. I apologize. Nah, man, I gotta automate all this stuff. This is a pain in the butt. So you're more of a beginner. What would you say your if you were to rate yourself on a 0 to 10? How would you? Yeah, as a player. Hmm. Okay. So a couple things. One, I want to just point out that closed team sheet ladder is a big difference between tournament play. It's still like pretty close, but I think the skill gap is dramatic. Like you, basically, I mean, Pokemon used to be closed team sheet, and there was a whole different meta of some Pokemon, like certain items are more valuable. For example, like safety goggles back in the day was like super valuable when people didn't know that you were going to have it. So, Spore was way worse. Now that people know what the safety goggles Pokemon is, or at least when we had it, whenever we get it back, please, Game Freak. Um, the value of Spore goes down a lot because the value of Spore goes way up, and Amoonguss becomes a way better Pokemon just like naturally, organically, because ooh, hold on a second. Oh no! Hold on a second. People can't hear you. What did I do wrong? Ugh. Oh no. Desktop audio. The monitor's off. Dang, so they can't hear you at all. No, it's my end. I switched headphones, and for some reason that had to have just ruined everything. This is why I just want all my settings to be super simple, but it's never that simple. So just give me 1 second. I wonder if I have to create a new Discord source. Maybe I can turn this off, and let's do Discord 2. Can I add a source? Active sources only. Mic, Discord. It says it's on. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, so we're gonna have to take a second to not get too far ahead of ourselves. I have to get this fixed. Ugh. Desktop audio 2 disabled? Default? Does that work? Please say yes. It says the volume is extremely low. Desktop audio 2. I wonder why you are so low. Is it... Does this... Hello? Does that change anything? I doubt it. Ugh, technical difficulties. Hold on, everyone. This is active. Volume percent. It says it's there. Why is it not showing up? Is the question. If it's going through to my headphones, maybe that's part of it. Sources, Discord. Oh, maybe I have to change these properties. Device. Okay. The question is, where is the sound going? I don't have music on either. That sucks. So for some reason, my desktop audio just isn't going through. No, it's not your fault. I don't think it's me. I think it's me. Audio mixer, desktop audio 2. Hide, unhide, properties, advanced. Ugh, this is why I need tech support. I need help. Somebody fix this. Oh man. It's gotta be like, I feel like it's gotta be muted somewhere. My voice is going through. For some reason you're there, they can't hear you. It has to do with like basically I have a desktop audio thing and it's just not. Good thing there is another lesson after this. Alright. Let's try and get this solved. Settings. If the speaker were here, it would have... I think that's part of the issue. Womp womp. No, like Discord just isn't coming through, basically. Properties. I don't think that would work. Hello, hello. No, it's not even picking you up at all. Alright, they must just be able to hear you through my headphones. So I gotta figure out how to actually re-add the audio. Why is it's so finicky? No. Can I delete? Let's try deleting it and then removing it and then coming back. Yes, we removed. Sources, Unicord, Discord. Okay, now we add audio input capture. Is that what it would be? Input capture. Is it coming from? No, it's not that. Man. I'm normally pretty good at fixing this. This is crazy. Can I name this Discord, please? And where would it be from? Advanced audio property, Discord. Desktop audio. Okay, maybe if I find a way to... bear with me for a second, hold on.
Yeah, no stress.
Let's try this. Let's go sound. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Holy crap. I wonder if that worked. Please tell me it worked. Try talking again?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. That's definitely it.
Oh, nice.
I wonder... Okay, did I fix it? Let me just pull it up myself. And I'll listen. Hold on. Please tell me I fixed this. I hate technical difficulties.
Shit.
Oh, perfect. Alright, now we need some background music. Alrighty. Beautiful. Alright, cool. So now I think we have some background music. We're good to go.
Nice, nice. Yeah, what was the issue?
I think it was that I am super dumb and just tried routing all of my stuff through like an audio mixer. So
I see.
it's a pain in the butt.
Okay.
So chat, just let me know if it's really loud, and then also let me know if you guys can hear the music. Hopefully, that's nice. Music, Mystery Dungeon music always goes hard. All right, perfect. So I was talking about the difference between closed team sheet and open team sheet, right? Let's start over. We're gonna
Yeah, yeah,
Give
of
you
course.
all your time back if you have the time to spare.
Yeah. That's completely fine.
All right. So the difference between certain things become more valuable. CTS and OTS. Also, I probably should share my screen with you. I don't know if that's going to be a pain.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Right? You're seeing this.
Let me see. Watch stream. Yeah. Oh
Good.
yeah, good.
All right. Perfect.
Yeah.
So the difference between closed team sheet and open team sheet is that like there's just so many things that are way more valuable. Like knowing the opponent's items, like speeds is a big one. Also, now we have natures, which is huge. Like
Yep.
you're forced to, you know, invest a lot in certain speeds sometimes with Pokemon, because like you're trying to like at least bluff that you're like reaching a certain speed tier. Um, but in closed team sheet, right? Like sometimes like you need to be faster because you have no idea that they're going to be slower, right?
Yeah.
So adamant and modest. A great example, especially in like champions, is in regulation MB specifically is Vivian and modest Charizard. If you're running Vivian, Vivian is way more powerful in in open team sheet. Knowing the nature is modest because they can never be faster. Max speed Zard hits 154. So the management of information is way different. Another thing too is move sets. Like surprise tech moves are way less powerful on in open team sheet because if the opponent knows what's coming, they can plan around it.
Mhm.
Trying to think of like a good example. I mean, back in the day, we had hidden power, Terra Blast, especially
Like
in the
Ancient
other
Power Zard, for example, feels like a good example.
Ancient Power Zard would be one of the better ones from like today's metagame.
Yeah.
But it can be even subtle things too. A lot of times when you're playing against a Venusaur, right, you pretty much always default to thinking it's probably Focus Sash and has Sleep Powder. Whereas that makes Life Orb and offensive Earth Power and offensive, like Leaf Storm, etc., like way more powerful. And you might be playing around Sleep Powder, they might never have it. Additionally, you might see the Life Orb and they might still have Sleep Powder. They might have dropped Protect or one of their offensive moves. So there's a bunch of different reasons why closed team sheet and open team sheet are different. If your goal in the future, you kind of establish that you're planning on going to tournaments, right? Like you want to go to like
Yeah.
a live thing, you want to maybe play some online, like big money tours, whatever it is. Your journey as a Pokemon player can start in closed team sheet. I think that's how, honestly, that's probably going to be the vast majority of people that are getting into the game is starting out in closed team sheet. But a lot of us are probably going to lobby for a future where we have a second ladder and they just give us that information. Like at any point, they could just change closed team sheet forever. And if they find a way to integrate it into the UI, then this is the game going forward. Technically, the converse is true as well. They might just take away open team sheet from us and we adapt. So it is absolutely valuable to be good at both, especially and there's different strengths in each. You just kind of have to separate out what is what. And I would really, really recommend that, like, while you're playing, you have to kind of be able to deduce, like, okay, the majority of Garchomps that you play on, like, a Big Six team are going to have, like, a Life Orb or a Citrus Berry. If you're in a situation where you get, like, closed team sheeted by, like, a Scarf Chomp, you're not supposed to really play around stuff like that unless you have, like, a strong enough position that you can kind of afford to cover for it anyway.
Mm. No, I 100% agree with like everything you say. I think in general, I think open team sheet is I guess the real skill gap. I think closed team sheet has like a lot of variance, and I guess it's not the best mode to I guess develop. I mean, it still has its like uses. I know it's not the best mode to develop. I think I just personally just want to be good at open team sheet just because I guess in my head, uh, I feel the stronger players, regardless of the variance, have good enough play to navigate the tech moves, to navigate the nonsense. And I feel like getting to that level where I feel like, okay, I'm good enough at open team sheet, and then a closed team sheet, and I can maybe get to MB1 or champions. I feel like I would then feel a lot more comfortable about my overall skill. Because I feel like open team sheet, it's also like, it's better for as like a skill to like show level of skill, but I think closed team sheet I guess would be better to overall develop the knowledge of the metagame, knowledge about like what threats do, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
So
Endgame Ladder is also like very fun now. Like it's maybe the
yeah,
most fun it's ever been. There's tons of like badges and stuff that you can get, like the Champion Tier badge.
yeah,
Champion Tier is actually like a really cool designed, kind of a slog fest where you have to like really, really grind it out. I haven't even hit Champion Tier yet because the vast majority of what I do is like practice with my friends in the lab.
yeah, yeah.
So any hours that I spend playing champions, like it's mostly a time commitment. Like no matter how good your win rate is, you have to, expend a
Yeah,
certain
play
amount
the.
of time
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
because you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose at some point. Like, and it's also in my opinion, I think it's really difficult to test team ideas on champions ladder because you kind of sometimes have to expend VP to do it,
Yeah.
and I
It's
want to
mostly
use
test
the
on Showdown.
VP exactly. So like testing on showdown is great. I think that that's perfect. Another thing too is like also in order to like look at your gameplay, it's much easier to save and log showdown replays than it is,
Yeah.
champions. Unless you have a capture card, and then you need to have like an extra terabyte of storage for all the videos, and it's also way way slower. So there's more. It's more cumbersome. The organization factor is huge. Um,
Mm.
so that's kind of the main advantage of showdown. But I think that it's good to play in game too. You technically get
Mm.
more time.
Yeah. No move animations. Everything is quicker. Get more games in. So yeah, no, I agree.
So the differences in the showdown versus in game, closed team sheet, open team sheet. The last thing I'll point out is um, the actual turns afford you more time to think in champions because of the move animations, um, and also things just like it's a longer timer. Uh, I'm pretty sure that the in-game timer in Showdown is like 60 seconds, but it's like a chess style clock where if you
Yeah.
continually take like 30 seconds, you're
Yeah.
gonna start running out. I might be
Yeah.
wrong about that, but
That's right. Yeah.
so it just feels like it goes a lot faster too. And then without the time that the move animations takes, like you can click the skip turn button. Um, you basically rob yourself of extra time. So one of the main skills in Pokemon, to get into like where we're going to start here, is being able to utilize your decision making in a 45 to 60-second window, sometimes a little bit longer, 70-second, um, and understanding what you can do with that time. Because truthfully, there's a lot of like, it's not intuitively obvious, but especially when you're leveling up, there's a lot of styles of teams that not just because of the they're bulkier or they like go longer in terms of how many turns there are. There are literal move animations that take longer, and there are abilities that expend extra time. And over the course of a battle, it actually adds up. Back in the day in 2015, the timer was actually 2016 was the year that they was the last year we had it, but there was a 15-minute timer instead of 20 minutes, and everything kind of deducted from that 15-minute time, including the animations, uh, the render time of the game. Like it was a long, like running joke that Light That Burns the Sky from Ultra Necrozma was like a 30 or 60-second animation. It's literally the longest
Mm.
animation of the game. So you could kind of use that move to stall time if you kind of like held it to really late in the game, or you could use it to kind of just burn a lot of time in the mid game and stuff. Um, Primal evolutions, all of that. So in 15-minute timer back in 2015, uh, Icy Wind Cresselia was pretty much like one of the best Pokemon at burning away clock. And part of the advantage of doing something like Icy Wind is it has to hit both targets. So that's like chip, chip. Then each one had their stats lowered individually. Same thing applies to grassy terrain and sand. And not only do those have advantages for the time that they burn away from the clock, if you're trying to like be able to use that time to think and process information, get to an optimal decision, there's other advantages to them too. Like they reveal speed stats, they reveal, weather order and other stuff too. So there's tons of like kind of nuance and levels to like polishing out your game. And basically, when you're first getting started and you want to like get better at playing, kind of in a broad sense, I always try to steer people towards your management of time and learning to like how to process all the information. And in your case, because you're actually like rather high, I would say, in showdown ratings, like top 300 in singles, single game, best of one close sheet, it's pretty high actually. I imagine an MB that's like actually, let's go take a look. What is that? I would guess it's in like the 1700s.
Yeah, 17. My username is it be like that, so I don't know
Oh,
what
so
that
money.
is.
I'm so money. If you're top 300, it literally exactly 1700. Um, and getting to 1700 is not easy because you start from 1,000. It takes a while.
Yeah.
So you probably know what you're doing, right? I can infer quite a bit from that. And I'm assuming you've probably gotten close to champions tier already.
I guess maybe that's the part where I feel a little lacking. The best I've done is MB2, and I think my highest was like top 7,000, and I'm like, I don't know, that doesn't seem that great, and I'm like, maybe there's something that I'm missing. I don't know, also don't know if maybe Showdown is smaller than the Champions in-game ladder, so I'm like, maybe my Showdown is not the most accurate representation or whatever. But yeah, I was definitely trying to prioritize at least getting to like MB1 or it's like thereabouts in-game Champions ladder.
Yeah, and so big reveal. The highest I've gotten on in champions so far is Master Ball 2. um, and I guarantee you, if I'd spent the time, I could get to champions tier. It's
Yeah,
more of
yeah,
like
of
a
course.
dedicated effort, and like what I'm gaining from that ladder. Mostly, I just
Yeah.
do my reps to get the bonus for the next season, and then um, also like to just keep up with like my dailies and VP and stuff. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, the vast majority of my game time is like happening in Showdown and stuff. So yeah, um, the other thing I think I mentioned, and this is kind of why I was pointing out your rating, is the two most important things I believe when you're first starting out Pokemon is like how to utilize your time, and the most actual important thing is to be able to identify what an actual mistake is, um, because that's where I think a lot of people will have stunted growth is if they're not properly classifying mistakes, both from themselves and their opponents. Because a lot of times people will be like, this is a great play. I did this really smart thing. It happened. It was beautiful. And then the opponent does something that like lets them get away with it when it really wasn't that great of a play. Um,
Mm.
and sometimes it's like you have to dig through the nuance. Like there's like layers to it. Did the opponent know about this play? Is it obvious that they didn't know about this play? Sometimes it's very, very obvious that they didn't know. But sometimes it's, a coin flip. You have no idea. You can't tell.
Mm.
Um, which is why it's good to work with people that you can actually communicate with rather than just, anonymous people. And
Yeah.
honestly, this is going to sound, I'm kind of partially doxing my alts on Showdown, but I like to ask questions and talk to people while I play them. Um,
Mm.
unless I'm super locked in or I'm really pissed off, and then I'm only ever like super super quiet to protect myself. But very often I'll be like, "Oh, did you like cover this on purpose, or did you make this like what was your plan here? Was this a 50-50, etc." That's actually a pretty useful thing to do sometimes because I'll be honest, like more often than not, more people are friendly,
Yeah.
even on Showdown, even when it's anonymous, and especially when I was first starting out the way, like the connections that you can make by doing that are actually really valuable. One of the first people that I ever like got an extended connection to through doing something specifically like that where I played them on ladder, I was like messaged them after. I was like, hey, can I run that again? That was like a sick team. You played really well. And they were like, sure, I would love to. Like you played well too. And then we just played some sets and we like talked and we chatted. Turned out to be Alex Gomez.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And now literally we've been friends since that 2016 interaction, 2015 maybe actually I think, and then it turned into sharing teams and eventually like meeting up. Like we worked on some teams together, we shared information, but there's value in doing that stuff. I mean, obviously it's a little bit luckier that I met somebody like Alex, but
Yeah.
I think it's funny because like when I remember, like when I harken back to that story, I didn't have like the most extensive like high caliber player networks when I was first starting out because I had no results. I didn't get it like day two, or back in the day it was just a top cut
Yeah.
for literally my entire first season until Worlds, and I made connections through stuff like NPA and then locals, etc. But like he was basically the first high profile person that I kind of like got into contact with and befriended. And it's literally through Showdown. After, and there's other ways too, but I think it's very valuable to do stuff like that. And hopefully, I can. Hopefully, that explains why.
Yeah. No, I think I should do more of that as well. I don't really have a lot of people I can talk to about Pokemon, so I feel like sharing ideas and practicing with people is also really important.
Yeah, for sure. So now I guess let's move into like what you as a Pokemon player like are trying to work on. There's tons of different skill sets that matter. Um, and honestly, depending on what your weaknesses are, different skills are going to have higher ROI. So you said plateaus, which are you Vancouver? Are you from Vancouver?
I'm actually from California, but is that like Canada word or something?
Oh no, no. I think did you mean? So I've always known the word as plateau, but I think that people like from either Canada or Wisconsin, like the upper
Oh,
areas, like Western Canada. I might also be completely off base, but like
oh,
yeah, I can't think
yeah.
of a good example. But like in Massachusetts too, they say like rum instead of like room. But you said plateau instead of
Oh,
plateau. So I
no,
was
that's
just like,
pretty
oh,
funny.
that's mad funny.
Uh,
So Cali, that's awesome. Cali rocks. There's also a
Yeah,
really really good local scene in California, and like pretty much all over. Which part of Cali are you in?
I'm actually in San Francisco, and I sadly could not get tickets to Worlds. Very unfortunate.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and I thought I could get resale tickets, but apparently, like they're tied to your license, so there's no way I could even get any resale
Damn.
tickets.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to like. I think you were allowed to buy spectator badges from people, but
yeah.
they were expensive. So that's unfortunate. But maybe there's some at the door or whatever. Or are you completely out of luck? I have no idea. I don't want to try and give you false hope.
Yeah, I mean, I asked ChatGPT. It said I was out of luck. I mean, I might try, but we'll see. I'm probably gonna be in the area anyways, because I feel like there's gonna be a lot of Pokemon fans around. So we'll see.
Fair. Okay. So then you're not going to be able to make it to Worlds this year, but you'll probably be able to watch. And
Yeah,
the San Francisco area does have, it's like the more northern, central northern, I guess, California, right? Is it central?
yeah. It's like I'd say central north-ish. So I'd say you're right.
Got it. Um, yeah, there's tons of players around there, and they have really strong locals. They have good TOs. Like Cali's just like racked with pretty good players.
Yeah.
Um, and there's also always like a regional in California as well. Like you're gonna get Sacramento or Los Angeles or San Jose, San Diego this year. So, and then there's like Seattle too, Portland. You tons of regionals that you can fly to for pretty cheap. So, um, awesome. I think that you're in a great area for that. And to go back to my question, um, when you feel like you're losing or where you are struggling, right? Like either on Champs Ladder, just in general, if it's a best of three, whatever. What do you think people are doing that is costing you, those points?
I do try to go back and review like the reasons that I lose in certain games, and I think what I notice the most is maybe misunderstanding damage rolls, or maybe players specifically teching out for like the team that I use, because I use a pretty meta trick room team with Ridraff, and the team I would say mostly like just falls apart if Ridraff goes down. So I feel like when I lose, it's mostly because Rig went down and I couldn't set trick room up, or also just because I don't know, I let Staraptor go crazy because that happens sometimes. And also just I don't want to sound like, oh, like it's just the cheese, but sometimes I feel like I do lose the cheese. But then I look at like streamers, and I look at like Joey. Joseph Ugarte or like Wolf, and they face equally horse cheese and they still win. So I'm like, okay, it's just a skill issue. Like, it really is just a skill issue. So I guess that's my thinking.
Okay. I think getting cheesed is super valid, and don't be fooled. Wolf and Ugarte get cheesed plenty. Um,
Yeah.
Everybody's susceptible to it, but the reason that it may be happening less to higher caliber players, we can go into. So we'll dive into that in a second. I want to talk about the first thing you said. We'll just start with those two things. Is there anything else that you can think of?
I guess also I would. Well, I might not be the best judge of myself, so I was also wondering if we could maybe go a few games and maybe you could see what the mistakes might be and or the mistakes that you can tell from those games that I play.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's totally fine. Let's do. We'll do like judge games after. Okay. The first thing is, do you have Shodex?
Um, no, I do have like VGC multi-calc always pulled up, but I'm guessing Shodex is a better calculator.
It's not 100% updated right now, but you can kind of, futz with it during your matches to make sure that it's a little bit more accurate. Um, let's go here. Hold on. Here is the GitHub. It will teach you how to extend it.
Let me see.
The main thing that I love about the Shodex is, I don't know if you've seen what it looks like. I'll show you in a bit. It basically just pulls up the damage calc for everything, and it uses like common sets, and then you can manipulate, and it uses your actual sets too. And you mentioned the damage calc thing. I have very similar experiences. And it's good that you identify. You're like, okay, look, I actually think I didn't understand my damage rolls there. And you didn't make an optimal or like a high quality decision because you didn't know the damage rolls. You didn't know that you lived somewhere. You didn't know that you had a guaranteed knockout or that a bulkier variant of something could get the that it could survive in
Yeah.
what you thought was a winning position. What you talked about as an extension of that issue is not just getting cheesed, but you specifically point out something that I think is probably the simplest thing that you can use as kind of like an illustrative example for a particular skill in long-term Pokemon matches, which is long-term planning and endgaming. Do you start in singles? Do you mind if I ask?
Yeah.
Most
Sorry,
people
what was
do.
the question?
So did you start with singles or VGC?
Oh, yeah. I definitely started with just Showdown and OU. I mean, I never played seriously. I really only started playing Champion seriously, but I always like played a game here and there on Showdown, random battles.
So what I think is kind of funny, like I swear this follows everybody that starts out when were first a singles player. In singles, I think for the longest time, the way that we would classify, also you got people saying to join the NorCal Discord in the chat. You already got friends. Look at this.
Let me open the YouTube and get that to the chat.
Yeah, for sure.
I see someone say 1700 Showdown is way higher than top 7000, but it didn't feel like that to me. Like, it didn't feel like that to me at all.
I I mean, it just depends. I also think that there's multiple symptoms of there's way more people playing on Champions in game ladder. There's also, I want to say, a whole different new era of people that are just getting to the game because of mobile.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know how to freaking click the protect button, or
Yeah.
there was this tweet I saw the other day. It was talking about rock paper scissors, and it was talking about Smash Bros. But they're like, man, this whole matchup is I have to spend the first game figuring out if my opponent knows that paper exists. And for me, I was like, oh my god, that's how it feels like on Champions. Do people click protect or not? And divvying between the people that do and then don't, or the people that are going to throw protect in at the right time is that's my biggest difficulty. But you can actually play around that when you're strong enough, and I'll get through it in a second.
Yeah.
But the point that I was making with the singles transition is that In singles, it is much easier to identify a win condition because very often it is get a sweeper into a position where I can sweep everything, or it's take out all of the checks to a specific wall. There's a lot more nuance to it than that, but those are probably the two biggest, and I would say they are the heaviest market share of the pie chart for win conditions in singles. Is there anything you could think that I'm missing?
I guess maybe stall, like setting up layers of spikes, toxic spikes, and just properly switching. That's maybe a win condition.
So let's say stall switching. I think that's actually probably the only other
Yeah.
opportunity because it's still an extension of as soon
Yeah.
as the thing that threatens your highly defensive switching pieces is gone, and very often too it's like just get rid of the sweeper that would be able to break all of your stall. um that's there. I think that like that's pretty much it. And it's usually like one Pokemon. So like Ferrothorn back in the day was huge. I'm trying to think. I think Slowbro was pretty popular back in the day.
Mhm.
What else? I haven't played singles in like the new eras. I'm sure Corviknight
Yeah,
is
like
a pain in the butt.
Toxapex and
Toxapex.
Corviknight. I mean, there's a lot, so many annoying Pokemon.
Toxapex is hilarious because it's like it's the singles stall Pokemon.
Guess the singles
of
goat,
all-
yeah.
exactly. Um, it's actually so good at what it does that like it even fits into a meta like this, almost the same way
Yeah,
that it operates in stall meta. Um,
that's like Wolf's NAIC team, so yeah.
yeah, and that actually is an extension from. I mean, I don't know that was necessarily his idea, but Brendan Zhang built a
Mm,
Miraidon Toxapex team with Aaron Trailer, and I actually used that same team at LA this year.
really?
Yeah,
Really?
and like it's very interesting when like basically if the pieces are gone, that is maybe the most drastic example of a Pokemon that like is a very clear win condition. Um, I'm trying to think maybe what else, but like also like protect the king strategies, like you set up a Calyrex or you set up Calm Mind Floette or something. Uh, but in older metas, I would say like there was maybe more. I mean, Toxapex, it just stands out to me as one of the Pokemon
Yeah.
that really
Yeah.
is like legitimately close to like a singles type win condition, in like a transcendent way, and it's mostly because of the pieces around us. If Psychic Spam, Expanding Force was in the meta, I don't think that Toxapex would be valuable because it would be
Yeah.
going down to Indeedee Psychics, and there's other things too. I think also like in a world where we have like Rillaboom, like having more fake out cycle and things that can pivot in and out like with U-turn is it's a huge deal because then infestation loses its value and then
Yeah.
toxic damage is also completely mitigated. So main point I'm trying to make though is when you go to VGC, the win conditions are a lot more complex. And I don't want singles players in my chat saying, no, singles has so much nuance and switching is so important and there's all these different things. You have to have these long 100 turn game plans. No. My point with the nuance of the VGC game plan complexity and win conditioning, identifying win conditions, is the games are faster and you have less resources to work with. You literally have less Pokemon to work with on the field, and you have to kind of cover lead roulette and team preview and stuff like that. You're covering the brings of your opponent. And sometimes they pull resources away from each other. For example, like Charizard and Floette. You don't want to bring your steel types into Charizard, but it's great to have it into Floette.
Mm.
So that's a separate thing, but the planning basically is a lot more about like option coverage and trying to be, you know, in as good of a position with the best four Pokemon that you could bring with educated analysis. It's not, I don't want to just reduce it down to guessing, but sometimes it is, and the win condition can sometimes be really hard to identify. For example, a more simple one is back in Scarlet Violet, like Regulation I. I don't know if you played any Regulation I at all.
Yeah, just champions. I haven't played anything before champions.
Back in the day, I would have been like, "You're not missing anything. It sucks," but for some reason, it's grown on me. Um, Calyrex Shadow Rider is not. It's like a broken Pokemon, but it's also like
Yeah.
hilariously not the most broken Pokemon. What's so powerful about it is that it's so fast and it has such a like high powered offensive spread move,
Yeah.
um, that like if you protect it properly and the opponent doesn't have the speed advantage, if everything on their team is below 30% health, they lose because there's not going to have a fake out, and they're going to need sucker punch or something. So what they call those, what I've commonly heard them referred to, are barrage boards because of Astral Barrage. And you can kind of think of it similarly to like a Scarf Garchomp. That's kind of like the first iteration that I had ever heard about of this type of concept, where like once everything in the game is below, Scarf Garchomp Earthquake range, and their fake out piece is gone, and they have no priority or speed control. Once Garchomp comes in and clicks Earthquake till the end of the game, they're gonna win. Um, so, and that's one of the more simple win conditions. Some of the more complex ones, um, that are similar concepts, right? Like our Perish. I don't know if you've played against or used any Perish.
Yeah, I've played a lot against Parrish. It's the worst thing to play against.
It's one of the worst things to play against, but if you know how to play against it and you make sure that your team isn't like auto losing to it, it's actually not that bad. In fact, it's a lot of fun in my opinion because they're going to be struggling for their life to try and pull off a Perish. For example,
Yeah.
having a Goldengo on your team, just Life Orb and any type of Tailwind. There's a really common team in the meta right now that has like the Mega Tyranitar, Milotic, but it also has Staraptor, Goldengo, and
Yeah.
I think that team struggles into some of the other meta teams, but it's really good into Perish Song because you just Tailwind and click Shadow Ball and you win.
It's over.
It's basically over. They can never pull off the Perish, and those teams don't have very good tools to get around Sinistra, uh, Staraptor, Goldengo, Tyranitar changing the weather, etc. Um, so I think those teams are really strong into Perish strategies. Uh, but the point I'm making with the Perish stuff is that that's like kind of another straightforward win condition that you can like develop. Regulation MB is not the easiest meta to kind of learn how to do the damage. Sorry, develop a strong intuition for complex win conditions because one, it's extremely team preview dependent. I think that you can just completely get folded by guesses and lead roulette, but also a lot of the damage that you're doing and like your turns are like going to end up in a situation where you're playing around a King Gambit Sucker Punch, and then it's just a 50-50. Do they click Kowtow? Do they click Sucker? Same thing with Basque Legion, where if you take the KO, are you accidentally setting yourself up for a Basque Legion that's going to sweep you with Last Respects?
Mm,
Because you literally will have no response to it. That's the type of thing where then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, you have two Pokemon in the end game. They have a fully powered Last Respects. Basque Legion is the fastest thing on the board. You could protect one of them, but if both of those Pokemon cannot knock out this Basque Legion at full health, then you don't have a guaranteed way to get through that Basque Legion if they both die to Last Respects. You can circumvent that. You can do things like have a priority move and a focus dash, and understanding all of the different like way to use those tools is how you can learn to get better at like building those win conditions. And the reason I wanted to go down this route and like talk about all this is because you mentioned, sometimes I just lose my Farigiraf and then I don't have a way to set up Trick Room. I'm assuming that you have a team that doesn't have another mode outside of the Trick Room.
Ironically, I do have another mode. I just think I lean super strongly into the Trick Room mode because it's the strongest. I'm using one of the I think it was one of the Victory Road winner teams. It's like Zard Arrow, Zard Arrow, King Gambit, Sylveon, Fridge, and Garchomp. But then I just lean more heavily into the Trick Room mode because I just think it's just better into the meta. I think especially with the barrage board strategy you mentioned, if King Gambit can weaken the opposition well enough, then Trick Room Sylveon pretty much just one shots everything with Helping Hand, Hyper Voice. So I think from what I and maybe like Charizard in the background to clean up maybe like some steel types or whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think what I've noticed is yeah, I do have the dual modes, dual win conditions. I just do lean more heavily into the Trick Room win condition. And I think more often than not, the Fridge Wrap does survive a lot of the double ups that I calc for. I think I just find the games that I lose is because I don't get Trick Room up or I maybe miscalced calc that I should have like this maybe a spread that's not common. Like I lose a lot to really bulky Basket Legion because King Gambit Sucker Punch doesn't one hit KO them.
Hmm.
Then Wave Crash plus a double up into Fridge will probably KO the Trick Room.
Got it.
Um,
Yeah. Well, in truth, this is a huge area of your game that you can work on, and I pretty much barring everything else, this will give you the highest ROI. I'll tell you that right out front. You just mentioned, Basket Legions aren't going down to Sucker Punch. The difference between, I would say, a higher caliber player, at least just where my brain is at, is
yeah.
I don't ever play the game expecting the Basket Legion to die to a Sucker Punch. I'm always hedging against a bulkier one until I see that it's fast and hits hard, especially over the course of a 3-game set. But in closed team sheet, I just almost always assume that they're going to have some type of bulk, unless they're Scarf and they're outspeeding. What's a Pokemon that's going to be up there? Unless they're Scarf and outspeed my Dragapult, for example, because then I know that it's max speed, and then they can't spare the EVs to live a Sucker Punch. But it's not a great roll. It's a roll anyway, right? If you're
Yeah.
not a boosting item, that's the point of having a boosting item. And you can get that damage in other ways. So sometimes you have to look ahead and you have to be like, all right, this Basket Legion is going to be a problem later. Right now, in an inopportune time, like Sylveon's about to go down, instead of making the play trying to go for like a Hyper Voice and play on them making a mistake, sometimes it's about throwing a Quick Attack out and getting that extra chip, because that chip will lead to you always having a position or a board where the King Gambit is going to be able to get that Basket Legion with Sucker Punch, because it has to have a stupid amount of bulk for it to live after Quick Attack chip too.
Yeah, yeah.
Or same thing with, like, you can bait them to Wave Crash as well.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I think in general, though, no, I think I definitely agree. I think just those situations, it's always, oh, like, I'm afraid they'll double King Gambit and it dies, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to lose King Gambit. I might as well just Sucker Punch. But I mean, I guess that there's always room for, I guess, better plays.
Yeah.
I will say, sorry, what were you saying?
Nope, I just said I was agreeing. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, I will say, maybe it's a little bit of bias because most of the Basket Legion that I have faced, mostly died to Sucker Punch because I feel like most Basket Legion are like max attack, anyways. But I do think, yeah, planning for this like edge cases that are a little bit bulkier, maybe Citrus Berry, maybe Focus Sash, etc. I think that's also like gonna be important.
Yeah, for sure. So let's hop on Showdown. Let's run some reps. I want to kind of
Nice.
have a little bit more of a visual. Typically, as a coach,
Did I share my
lean.
screen or no?
No, you don't. I'm sharing mine. It's fine.
Okay, okay. I'm on Showdown.
I'm gonna stop streaming my screen so that you don't cheat. Just kidding.
Shit.
I know you wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't cheat.
What's your alt?
My Showdown is just it be like that 247.
It.
I think that's my
be
user. Yeah, my
like
exact
that.
same username here. Yeah,
That's a good username. Because
yeah,
sometimes
because
it do be like
it
that.
really do be like that.
Okay, let's go to. We're gonna do one at a time. Let me find something. Hmm. No. Okay. I'm going to challenge you with this style of team. I don't think it necessarily has a good or a bad matchup. I think it's just got a lot of powerful pieces. So.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I do know. I faced this type of team before, and I'm not very confident. But I guess it's good practice.
Yes. And that's fine. I mean, like, mostly here we're just evaluating how you're playing.
Yeah. Of course.
Also, really quickly, I'm going to share again. This is what Shodex looks like. If you want to look at my screen real quick.
Let me come back. Sorry, 1 second. Oh, I see. I see. Oh, that's actually really neat. Makes it a lot like easier and quicker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the main thing too is like it shows you damage calcs. Sometimes like you have to be, if you have a mega evolved yet, you have to look at the mega. You have to say, oh, this doesn't actually have the right spread loaded up. Double check everything, because this has like no EVs right now. This is the EV markers, and then this also has no EVs because it's guessing spread.
I meant to ask that actually. Do you think because I remember I had a conversation with another, I guess, somewhat prominent player that's top code a few times, and he says he prefers to not use calculators to simulate a real tournament experience as much as possible. Also, you're still sharing in
Yeah.
case you're picking your Pokemon.
Yeah. No. So I think that it depends. In my experience, like head calking is a different story, and we'll go back to that in a second. I think that it's good to have this tool because more often than not, what I'm doing in Showdown is generating replays that I study, and making the wrong play because I don't know the calc in my practice is kind of bad in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it makes it kind of just creates a bunch of noise in the data.
Yeah.
And all the only way that and all I have to do to make sure that it doesn't make me dependent on the calc is that whenever I don't know a calc, I just head calc it and then I check it. And I'm like, all right, was my head calc right? Yes. If it wasn't, then, and it makes a huge difference, I'll just write it down. I'll write it down because that's how information sticks for me. However you get the information for a damage calc to stick, that's what you do.
I see.
So some people, yeah, they might get dependent on it, but it's like when I go to tournaments, I'm playing for everything. I put everything that I have into them, and I have to protect myself from gaining any dependency on it. I don't have any dependency on it. I just make a note of anything.
Yeah, of course.
That's it. So, all right, let's run some sets. Games, I should say. I'm not going to make it through a full set. I actually have no idea how to play this matchup, so be gentle.
I was going to say the same thing. I mean, I do think, I guess we'll see. Oh, I didn't mean to do that.
It's okay.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure I wasn't like uh, gone or anything. Uh, hmm.
Mm, that right there is a mistake.
I was so sure that would. Uh, well, I guess my thinking is, can Gambit always? Oh wait, no, you don't have Iron Head. I'm so
I did
slow.
not know.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, that's hilarious. But yeah, I figured that might. Do you have like defense EVs? I don't know. That usually would, or maybe I need to be just do more calcs.
So that's why having the calculator is useful. I looked at a calc right there.
But I think wait, so let's say I helping hand I hyper voice there. I think I would be in a pretty good position.
Your Farigiraf would die to the Kowtow because I underspeed the Sylveon. And then
Yeah, but out of
Basculation would be at. Hold on, let me check the calc. That's the calc I was just looking at.
oh,
Helping
so
Hand
you
Hyper
you
Voice puts me at like just under 10-15% after Life Orb tick. So I'll still be under Trick Room in the same position.
really, but
Yeah.
then you have Sneasler in the next. Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. I think that was I was that was a big blunder. I thought for one I should have looked at. I'm just so used to closed team sheet, and I should have looked to see that you didn't have Ironhead, and so I thought, oh, the Sylveon is gonna die unless I knock out the King Gambit, and so that's when I
Yeah.
used Helping Hand quick attack, which I thought might, but I guess that maybe
I think
my
Helping
calc.
Hand Hyper Voice is the right play. The other play that I actually think is pretty solid there is Hyper Beam Basket Legion because you need that KO on the Basque right there. I have Sneasler in the back, and I'm taking your Farigiraf here. You could
Yeah.
also swap Farigiraf into Charizard and Hyper Beam the Basket Legion. Truthfully, that may be one of your better plays, but there's also a
So
world where you just Hyper Voice, you get the King Gambit, you get tons of damage onto the Basket Legion. Zard comes in, it Sylveon dies to the Last Respects because King Gambit's down. Basket Legion did not do any damage to the Zard, but King Gambit did the Kowtow, so it should be a little bit under 50. Basically, it's going to be in Dire Claw range, is the main
yeah.
thing. And then I have two Pokemon that can protect, but Farigiraf would come in with full health. And then I have to get through potentially a Zard with no Aqua Jet, right? I actually think that that's just
Yeah.
100% correct. And I didn't play around that because I didn't think that that's what you would do. Um,
Mm.
I thought, based off of what we observed, that like this is the type of plan and path you were going to go for. But also, I wanted to point out that the helping hand hyper voice after going for hyper voice psychic fangs was cheeky and good. The good kind of cheeky. Well, let's run it
I mean,
again.
I think yeah, the reason I did it was because I think Sylvia Sneasler always dies to Helping Hand Hyper Voice.
Hmm.
The reason I did use Psychic Fangs initially was actually because I didn't check the team sheet again, and I thought it might be Focus Sash, but then I looked, oh, it's White Herb, so I would have gone for Helping Hand Hyper Voice probably both times. But I do think so I'm trying to think. You said it would have been better to Hyper Beam the Basque Legion, so
It may
I'm
have been.
guessing. I see, but I guess that means I mean I don't know. That means your basket legend has like a lot of like health HP EVs. It seems like in the calcs, unless like I'm looking at the calc now, it seems like it would be hard to. In my head, what I would be thinking would be, oh, like basket legion, it probably would go down to helping hand hyper voice. But, like why? I guess I'm just tripped because I do want to like see the play that you mentioned. I wouldn't have seen that play.
My
The
Sneasler does
hyper
not
beam.
go down to helping hand hyper voice.
Oh, really? So it also has like health investment.
Yes. Bulky
Oh,
Sneasler is actually pretty common on this team.
that's fair enough. Actually, I think maybe that's also another issue. I'm always assuming
Yep.
I'm assuming the best case or whatever.
When you start factoring this into your plans, it'll be a massive game changer. I think too, like in my experience as a coach, this is maybe one of the most difficult plateaus that you're gonna have to break through.
Yeah,
It'll happen. Like it's like a guarantee you'll get there. But it's gonna make you feel really bad when you are trying to think about it, and it takes so much extra time to factor it in, and your decisions are gonna look worse because you're gonna be thinking wrong sometimes.
yeah,
But
yeah. I
basically,
guess
in this situation, right? Like when you said helping hand hyper voice KO's Sneasler, I thought to myself, I was like, there's no way. But not because I knew the calc. I'm just like, what's the point of having a bulky Sneasler, and how the hell does this
yeah,
team
yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
through
Fair enough.
Trick
Fair
Room?
enough.
And that's something too that you can do. Like in terms of intuition in Pokemon, if you start thinking kind of like VGC, like a little bit more chess like, um,
Yeah.
you can abstract to start questioning concepts. Something if this is like a common team or this is something that exists, and wow, all of a sudden I'm doing a really good job just wiping them with helping hand hyper voice. What do they have for this? You can ask yourself the question: how the heck did this team do well at NAIC? Because this is the team that won NAIC that you're using, or an iteration of it. So how did it get all the way? Like there were so many of them at NAIC, and this is the lens of a tournament player. I'm not saying this is
Yeah.
exactly how you approached it, but the abstraction of you can start to smell that the Sneasler is going to live because you're like, there's no way that this should be this easy. Does that make sense? That sounds weird, but I promise it'll make sense once you
I
start
know.
to like sense it a little
I
bit
d-
more.
no, I do get what you mean.
Yeah, well, I think the idea, right, is that if you look back to the way that my turns went, right, I went Lycanroc knowing that you favored the Trick Room mode. I didn't want to use that information that you gave me as an advantage. I
Yeah,
figured
yeah,
if
yeah.
you do Farigiraf Sylveon or Aerodactyl Sylveon or any Zard board, this covers me. I have to kind of not do a kind of gamble that you're not using the Chomp, but it's Frostlass, right? If there's anything that's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
going to be
yeah.
getting brought here, maybe it's not the Chomp. And then in this first time playing it, that's kind of an assumption I think I have to make. So in terms of how the matchup goes, I am playing for as many possibilities as I possibly can. And the vast majority of my plays, until I'm stuck in a situation where I can't like do a super high coverage option play, the risk is 50-50 or it's just like 60-40, it's too skewed in one direction.
Mm.
Very often I'm looking for kind of like the rock of rock paper scissors, especially against people that I know are quote unquote less experienced or of a different skill caliber than I am,
Mm.
because very often those people are going to kind of trip on their own mistakes. They're not going to know the perfect plays. If I'm playing against somebody that knows all the best plays that they possibly can go for, it's like playing basketball against when you can dunk. It's a different game. Like when you have somebody that's super athletic that can just absolutely fly and you can just throw them a lob, it's a completely different game than, you know, having a bunch of people that are going to miss layups, because that happens.
Of course.
But it'll come. And I think that that's one of the easier ways that I can explain it. You have to kind of sense when something is wrong. And that's a simple one where, like, oh, this is going really easily. Sneasler probably is going to live this. Are they going to adjust their play around that specifically? But in the long-term scope of the game, it didn't really make a difference. I did switch out. This team does not have a lot of swaps for Hyper Voice. But look, I still found a way to navigate it, right? And
Oh yeah.
again, I pointed out, like, if you had done a bunch of the other plays based off of the speed stats of the team, I speed sandwiched you. I made sure that your Farigiraf was going to be on the board at a time where I'm going to be able to threaten Kowtow. And then either I'll wave crash and take your Sylveon, or you'll be locked into Hyper Beam. And then Kingambit doesn't even go down. So I'm hedging, like, I'm basically, my positioning and my plan is meant to limit your options, and like it won't matter what you do. I don't have to get the play right. I just have to stick to the plan.
I see. Yeah, I think I've heard that somewhere. I think that's like a really good like way I can try to approach games more. Just make the optimal play regardless of whatever the opponent does. I think maybe that could be something I could try to work on. Yeah, I think that's something I do try to keep in mind. I guess it maybe sometimes that play in my head isn't the right one, but I guess I don't know. I just need a little bit more practice with it.
Yeah, I think that that's something you can, and the cool thing is you can practice this with any team. It doesn't necessarily have to be just through the lens of that exact team
Yeah,
that you're using.
yeah.
Um, Another thing too, and I want to point this out, is how often are you going for a Trick Room mode that ends with Aerodactyl?
I think maybe I do lead Aerodactyl more than maybe not more than Zard, but usually I want a Zard or Aerodactyl in the back. I think Aerodactyl I bring against like other Zards, which is a lot of teams I bring against like Frostlass. Because of Wide Guard, I bring
Hmm.
against like a decent amount of teams. I would say Garchomp with Ice Fang, and I do lead Zard. So I do have Zard sometimes too, but I probably use Zard into the more I guess matchups where I feel like it could go crazy if his checks are deleted. So like maybe I don't know if they have like Scoville, I would say it doesn't really do well in Cesar. So if I could get rid of like Lycanroc, which in my head was like, oh, like Frostlass and
Lickin'
Scoville,
Rock? Did you just call it Lickin'
yeah,
Rock? Oh
I'm
my
so, like
god.
yeah,
Holy
I'm sorry.
cow. I
Okay,
have to
okay,
censor that. Jeez.
in in my defense, I didn't watch I haven't played any of the Gen I think 7 Alola games,
I'm not
so I really
criticizing you. I'm just appalled. What's it? That
yeah
hurt my
okay
ears.
okay. I'm sorry. I know it's Lycanroc. I know I said that.
No, it's fine. It's crazy. People are gonna bully you for that. I'm gonna bully you for that. That was a crazy pronunciation, but
Oh my god, yeah,
oh
no,
my god, I don't even want to read the comments. That's no. All right. Anyway,
yeah.
not to distract you, but
What was I saying? Yeah, yeah. So in my head, I was like, okay, Frostlass, Scoville, and so this is a Zard game because if I can clear the Rock type Pokemon, then I can, and Zard would probably have a better time
mhm.
into King Gambit, Frostlass, Scoville, and even I guess Basculegion. Like in if it's not like fully power last respects, I win most like matchups against Basculegion just because I have like a bulky Zard. And Wave Crash in the Sun isn't great. Last respects, if it's not 250, it doesn't OHKO me. And maybe not all the matchups, but I find I have a positive matchup. So that's when I'm like, okay, this is a Zard game. So I guess that's just like my most of my thinking going into the game. I would say.
Okay. So you got to expand your option coverage is one. I think that's basically the first thing you should look at is how do you cover more plays even if you don't expect the opponent to do them? And then two is your planning. Um, there's a lot on the board for you. Like there's a lot of food on the table for you to feast on, like in terms of information. Your view of how to get through specific teams is very improvisational. Be more rigid. find plays that work into everything that the opponent does. Because if you are presented with an opponent that, like, basically, like, if you lead something that, like, no matter what they do, they're just going to, struggle and die against 4 consecutive exact plays that you will always do, you don't have to do anything else. And you can make that more reductive. You don't have to feel gross about it being so rigid. If you were running a Scarf Hyphlosion with Torkoal and Helping Hand, and the opponent has all grass types, no priority moves, no Okaberry, you're clicking Helping Hand and Eruption, and you win. There's nothing they can do. There's more nuance to, some of the other boards. If it's Whim's Basque versus Farigiraf Kingambit, there's plenty of outcomes. But when you study them, when you dive into them, you can kind of figure out, like, oh, this play will always get me this far ahead in the game. This covers for 2 different things. Very often they'll just wait, like Tailwind, Wave Crash the Aerodactyl. Does that mean that you go for a Sucker Punch? Are they going to live? If they live, do you want to maybe switch to Black Glasses? No, there's a reason that you have Sash. And so very often you can go Arrow, KG, click Tailwind, go for a Kowtow Cleave. If they let you get the Tailwind off, great. If they Wave Crash, they're going down to Kowtow. And then your Sash would stay intact, and you either have Tailwind, or they took away your option to Tailwind, and then Farigiraf hits the board, and they don't have anything that can break through the Farigiraf, unless it's going to be Kingambit next. And maybe in that case, that's why you run Cobra Berry, right? Make sense?
Yeah, no, it does make a lot of sense. I guess, yeah, I guess that's also one thing. Maybe it's like a team building thing. So right now I'm running min speed on all the Trick Room Pokemon. So I feel like it does help me in Trick Room against the mirrors, but I guess it would hurt the Tail Room aspect of the mode. So like Sylveon and Sylveon, Kingambit, and Farige are all like min speed.
This is Citrus Berry. Yeah, middling speeds is actually, the concept of Tail Room and Turbo Room, some people call it, is so that way you can create speed sandwiches, and so they can also operate outside of Trick Room, with Tailwind support into other Trick Room teams, into other Sylveons, etc. Because, like, if you play against another Sylveon and it's quiet and it's min speed, then it's just speed ties, right? So it's good to have kind of sometimes an ambiguous speed stat. And honestly, when I'm making a lot of spreads, that's what I do. I'll make sure that I don't sit at, like, the most common speed tier unless I have to. All right. We're getting towards the end, but I'm not trying to rush you because we went through...
Of course.
I don't have another lesson, and also we went through tons of information. I want to give you a chance to ask questions, and we had technical issues, so... It's okay if they don't immediately come to you.
No. Yeah, I did have like a few questions. I guess for one, so like especially with the EVs, like I think like if you don't mind me asking, like what like speed EV do you run like your Sneasler at, and like I guess like why did you like um did you calc for specific like moves, and like I mean that would affect the speed and like the mirror into other Sneaslers. Like how do you like I guess navigate that? Like I'm guessing like a slower fake out, and also like maybe like you can't really stop opposing Sneasler, Dire Claw, like things like that, etc.
It depends on if Mercury is in retrograde or not, and then I'll change the spread.
Oh, so it's like I guess a variable spread, like depending on what you feel is the most optimal.
No, it's always situational.
Mm.
I think that, let me think of the examples. Certain Pokemon you almost need to be max speed because, like, maybe they beat themselves. So for example,
Yeah,
like a Sash, Calyrex.
Garchomp, or yeah,
Sorry, I'm thinking of other formats.
yeah.
Sash Kingambit, very often they run max speed because you have to outspeed the opponent. King Gambit. That
Yeah.
is going to be Sash as well, and you just have to go for the ability to get that speed tie. Like 50% of the time, you're going to win in a 1v1, right? There's nothing else to really do with the EVs. That's a good example. Spread building is like an art form. Some people undervalue it, some people overvalue it. I think pretty much any time that you're using a Pokemon, it's going to depend on the situation. And before you're going to a tournament, sometimes you want to tool your Sneasler to specific situations that are more likely to come up. It's a playstyle thing. You know, if you have to get through Trick Room with your Sneasler in a lot of matchups, you want it to be bulkier. That's like a straightforward example. The people that don't do that, maybe they found a way around it, or they just are constantly like making good plays and reads, or they just don't bring Sneasler in Trick Room, and they have other Trick Room tools. But basically, your team is like, in a lot of ways, it's like a deck, right? And your EVs are kind of like cards. The stats that your Pokemon sit at are like if you want to run like a tech card for a TCG. And Pokemon's kind of like having your whole deck in your hand. So when somebody plays a card, do you have the card that says Sneasler lives Helping Hand Hyper Voice? Yes, you have that answer in your hand. That's kind of how I view it. And if you're not playing against Helping Hand Hyper Voice cards, then it doesn't come up. But, you know, the best way to get the most out of your Pokemon is role compression and making, you know, maximizing the value out of every decision that you make. So bulky Sneasler does more than just live Helping Hand Hyper Voice. There's a lot of things that it lives. Maybe Jolly -1 Chomp Earthquake. Doesn't live a Jolly Adamant, but back in the day you can use stuff like that too to also like identify what spreads people were using. Natures people were using, I would say.
Yeah.
Now we get the natures, which I think is good. I think it's a good thing. Like, it's a good change. It's weird. I see the argument for some people where they're like, you know, the more that we give to our opponents, the less VGC and Pokemon it is. Like, if everybody just knows everything, it just turns into like a, you know, playing Pokemon. It creates more RPS is, I think, what people are more nervous about. Rather than like, this is a sick tech that I pulled out in like a moment. Like, there's nothing to hide anymore on your team sheet except for like, what is it, 66 EVs? Everything else the opponent knows. But how you use those spreads is really important. And sometimes you can lie with the team sheet. There was, I think, like a local Japanese tournament. You're not lying with the team sheet, but you can bluff. So, for example, there was a King Gambit that won a local Japanese tournament with Brave Nature, but it had like 20 speed EVs, which I think is maybe the most brilliant use of the open nature, because there's probably a lot of situations where if the opponent doesn't expect the King Gambit to be that fast in Tailwind, they're going to make a mistake because they expected to play around a slower King Gambit.
See.
But spreads are interesting. I know of like I don't know how much Chuppa abides by this anymore, but he used to be somebody that I knew was like, EV spreads are not that big of a deal. Like, you know, playing good Mons is playing good Mons. Like, he just thinks he's going to skill diff through it. But I know that he also does really put a lot of time into his spreads, and he understands the value of all of it. So he might also just be memeing. But I don't know. Some people are, you know, crazy about that stuff. I think like a Sash Pokemon, it's straightforward. Unless there's a 2-hit attack that you need to live. So, for example, Sash Calyrex's in Regulation I lived Urshifu Surging Strikes. Terra Water Scarf Urshifu Surging Strikes. Which is a weird thing to EV for, but if it's the only thing that you need to be faster than, or to be able to survive, you're faster than everything else. So, it comes up. Definitely comes up.
I think that's also probably somewhere else I need to maybe, I guess, improve. Because I guess I do, even though like I'm using the, I think, Eric's team. I can't remember who won in AIC, but I do try to, I guess, like, play a few games and just like model the EVs based on what I think the team is strong or weak against. And I think maybe I could also do maybe a little bit more work there.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe and also like the moves, because I changed a few moves. I think, like, for example, I removed Protect on a few of the Mons, just because I think in general Trick Room, I'm trying to, it's like a very fast paced game, and I just felt like I needed the tech options on both King Gambit and Farouj. So I'm wondering, I don't know if that's like the best decision or not, but yeah, I guess in general, there's a few things that I think I need to work on. Um, yeah, I guess in the end, it is just more time and reviews that will probably be like the best option.
Yeah, for sure. That's it, pretty much. I would say for you, that's the fastest you can develop. And if you need practice, like more for the open sheet stuff, um, practice in Showdown. Just throw some best of three ladder in the mix when you can. Save your
Yeah.
games, dump them into a passers, so that way you can log it and see like what you're losing to, etc. It does all that work. I have the information in the resources channel in the disk. Um, I also have a document about VOD reviewing and how to kind of like really identify what are like legal and illegal plays, which is just kind of how to deduce mistakes. And I think I've written everything down in terms of like where you're going to go for the first plateau you're trying to break. And I think you'd be able to kind of tell me when you break it. It might take a month, maybe two, but I don't think it'll take longer than
Mm.
that.
Yeah, at least I hope not. Wait, you said like there's like a tool that will like review my games and give me like, you said the matchups, the problematic matchups and the like illegal legal moves, or is that something that I fill in manually?
I'm copying it for you right now. Hold on. It's in the resources channel. You have to dump your replays into it. So you
Oh,
just,
really?
yeah, just, it's called passers. So I'm going to pop this open. This is an old version that one of my students used before NAIC. You copy paste it. You basically just enter your. I'm still sharing, right? No, I'm not.
Oh, no, I don't see it. No.
Oops. All right, now you can see, right?
Yeah.
So this is an old version with two different people on the same. Like you can add multiple accounts to it too. So if you have different alts,
Mm.
you can do it with people. It's a very good just like replay aggregation, and then you can leave notes. You can be like, I suck so bad. This person is so good. But that's not a good note. You'd want to do something smarter.
Yeah.
But game by
So it,
game, it goes down through like this is what they brought, what they mega'd, where you won, what their rating was, and then also it goes, it aggregates them match by match, so it shows your win rate, kind of, and then the fun part, what you're bringing,
oh, really?
what your best leads are.
So is this like I have to record each of my like I have to get the poke paste from each of my games and it automatically like pulls all this information.
Yeah, you just you copy paste your poke paste into it. You don't have to do it every time. Just keep it the same, and then copy your replays. There's also a tool called the Passer's Helper, which is so nice.
Oh, really?
And what it does is it automatically. See, I didn't save this replay. It was just right there. I'm gonna give you the GitHub for it as well.
Let me see.
I am terrible at saving my replays and remembering to. So,
Yeah.
this is a mandatory tool for me. And then the Hello Decks too. I don't always look at the calcs before I play, so it's just a useful tool. Remember, Showdown itself is not where we play the game. My cart
Yeah.
prep and everything is kind of separate from who I am. In truth, this is the hard part for me. The practice and everything.
Yeah.
The tournaments are the fun part. They can be
Yeah.
challenging, of course, but they're challenging for everybody, and everybody's giving it their all. All of this is the studying for the test. The tournaments are the tests.
Makes sense. No, no, yeah, I definitely need this tool. I think I'm looking at it right now. This would be such a godsend.
It's great. It's going to level up your game a lot.
I
It'll make it easier to get through the plateau you're trying to get through too.
Yeah, I think 100% I need to review more games, and I think just having something that helps me do that is probably gonna like speed up the process so much quicker.
Yeah, for sure. If you ever come back for either a lesson with me or with another coach, just build one of these passers documents and make notes of the good ones, the good losses where you felt like, man, my opponent really got me, or
Yeah.
other information where it's like you won, but you maybe felt like you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Um, and what you're really looking for is like information that's not at the surface, right? Is there anything that you're missing? Because your coaches, whether it's me, whether you become your own coach, whatever, you go to somebody else, your goal is to be able to teach yourself from your mistakes and learn from everything that you're doing. If there's anything that's missing and you can't figure it out yourself, the coach needs to be able to teach you how to figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I know you probably, I know this is a little over time. I guess I just wanted to ask like one final question, if that's okay.
It's no problem. Go ahead, man.
I guess my only question is, from what you've seen so far in like a little short time, and I guess maybe ignoring the passers, like what would you say is like the number one thing I need to work on for, I guess the next foreseeable future?
Um, so skill wise, organization. Organize, become a machine. If you want to operate at a very competitive level, you are competing against monsters. Um, and I am one of them. Even if I'm not the best, like most consistent tournament player, I'm decent. I am lethal at this part, the organization, and I'm
Yeah,
chaotic. I'm
yeah,
like not good at the organization. I force it because I know what it gives. Like I know the returns, um, and I'm not the same player when I don't do this work. Other people do the same thing, and let me tell you, anybody with a Worlds invite, I would say 99% of them are doing this. Other than the people that can just rip a team and go pop off. But I think that 99% of the people that are like qualifying for Worlds are doing this. There are people that are missing Worlds that are doing tons of this work. So you need to make your work and the study and the prep integral part of the process. You need to learn, and truthfully, something that will really help you is learn to love it. Even if you feel like it's tedious, try and find a way to
yeah,
make it easier. If you feel
yeah,
like basically think about it, having to manually upload each game, then copy paste them into a note, and then put a little text thing that tells you what team you played. That sucks. That's why the
yeah,
passers, it makes it's like less resistance, right? It just makes it so easy to be like, oh, if I need to go look at a match and study how I performed against Big Six or Floette setup, I can go look and I can just pop this in. It's right there. It's already visible for me, and it took 1 second to download that
yeah.
whole best of three.
Yeah, game.
I do it while I'm queuing for the next match. The other thing is, when I say learn to love it, it's like make it as easy as you possibly can. Use the tools that are available to you.
Yeah,
Um, the other piece is make it fun to like build it and like you know make notes of what you're learning. So if you're going through a replay, like be excited that like, oh, I'm gonna figure out something about this matchup. Even if it's one small little tip, like I have to bring my Farigiraf into this type of team, it is mandatory. If that's all you figure out, that's a step forward. And truthfully, every time you work on it, you're gonna get better at figuring out more with less time. And that's kind of the name of the game. Is we're competing against kids they're in high school, end of high school, and they have tons of free time, and they're not going out to parties. Maybe some of them are, but they're not going to the Friday night football games.
yeah.
I was at the Friday night football games because I was in the marching band, because I was a dork. Just kidding. But I was in the marching band. But my point is, like, you're going to be competing against people that have a lot more time. You need to make the most of the time. You have to make more with less. And you're in
Yeah,
your development process. This is, in my opinion, one of the most fun parts. Be okay with the fact that you don't know things. The other skill that I think that like goes hand in hand with this is build plans that cover way more. And I think that like we didn't have time to go into exactly this concept, but the easiest way you can describe it is look at the board that you are entering, not the board that you are playing. My turn is going to result in this. If you can extrapolate every single possibility, and a lot of it's deduction, like you're not playing for an Incineroar that can click fake out into its own partner. Um,
Yeah.
but sometimes the parting shot themselves, because it's optimal or it's a read. If you can cover everything and then get good at kind of like sifting out the plays that don't really matter because they're not going to be that high level, um, you will build better plans for not just the turn that you are clicking your moves, but you will set yourself up to be in a better position to then plan for next turn as well. And eventually you'll start planning for 2 turns ahead and 3 turns ahead. And when you get really, really good and really comfortable, sometimes you almost can see the entire game. It's a lot of information though.
I see. I see. Yeah. I think for sure the organization is something I definitely 100% need to improve on. I think I am a little structured, but I mean the tools that you mentioned will be so like much more helpful. And I think for also the planning, I think also a weakness with this team is I feel like it is like what I'm trying to do is fairly straightforward. I feel, like just from depending on what mode I go into, I feel like really good players can analyze and I guess pick apart the game plan, and I guess maybe also having an equally good plan and adjusting. But yeah, I guess it gives me like a lot of good things to think about.
Yeah. You'll find a lot more optimal plays when you start studying. And if you need help in the future, like figuring out how to VOD review, check out the doc that I put in the I have another one in the resources channel in the disc.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think
Talks
I
about how
just
to
checked that.
review and like what to look for. But when we
Yeah.
just dissected the turns of the end game where your Sylveon went for the helping and quick attack, I immediately was like, that's a mistake. You can't do that because it wasn't even close to KOing. Part of that's because you didn't
Yeah.
know the damage roll. The other
I
piece of
I
it
guess
was that so if it doesn't ever KO, then you have
it's a
to
really
know
it's a
that so you can
blunder.
spend that time planning everything else because you only get 60 seconds. We talked about time early.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I look and I saw like I looked at it a little bit, and you were right. I think Helping Hand probably wouldn't KO the Basque Legion either. And so I would have lost both. What's it called? The Farigiraf and Sylveon in the same turn, so I probably would have lost the game
Hmm.
in either situation.
Yes, and
Um,
then the bulky Sneasler matters in the end game there too because
yeah, yeah,
Zard
yeah,
is last. I have
yeah,
Basque. Even in Sun, Aquajet, Dire Claw
yeah,
this
yeah.
game.
It'd be GG's. Yeah, it'd
Yep.
be GG's. Yeah, and that's not even with your Mega, I think, because I didn't know if you brought. Oh no, you didn't bring a Mega this game.
Nope, I didn't bring my Mega.
Oh, I see. And I was game planning for either of them. Really. Yeah, but no, I guess it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess no, all of that is, I guess, giving me really good food for thought. Um,
Sweet.
yeah, no, I guess this was a very like productive session. I'm wondering, so how often do you do like the coaching sessions? Because I think I saw you only have them for like 3 days, right?
So no, I'm gonna be taking time off for Worlds, so I'm just cramming them all into this week. But I'm usually like available pretty much every week. There's very
I
few
see.
weeks that I won't try and find a couple lessons for some people. Um, because I'm very like as a coach, I don't do it to. I'm much less industrious about it. I'm trying to make you
Yeah,
not need me. Like that's my
yeah, yeah, yeah,
success.
yeah. Of course,
I
of
want you to be
course.
like, man, I went to Karis 2 lessons. That was it. If the less net
Yeah.
lessons you need with me, the better. That's a mark of success as a coach for me.
Yes, I guess. Yeah. No, that's what I think as well. That's what I think as well. And I think this is like a really great session. I guess I'm probably gonna go try and put a lot of like what you said into practice, maybe for a few weeks,
Hmm.
and hopefully from my own, I guess, review of my games, I'm able to make the breakthrough. But overall, I think like very very productive.
Look into your locals. Start looking to
Yeah,
see
I
who you can
just
get
saw
involved
that.
for next season. Because
That's,
you don't want to be like, they announce a regional that's like really close to you or something, and then you're like, oh man,
like,
now I'm in shooting distance of a Worlds invite. Go to your locals. Just get some points.
yeah, yeah. No, I think like I will like next season for sure. After Worlds, I will maybe go to a bit more local events. I think I still do want to get really good at best of one, but I mean, like, it's fine. Like, I feel like I'm gonna go anyways, regardless, and maybe like have some practice rounds in between for best of three.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Jay, it was awesome talking to you, man. You really
Yeah.
you listened a lot. You asked really great questions. I was happy to teach. And if you ever need anything, DM me, hit me up, ask questions. Um, and best of luck, man.
Yeah, same here. It was a very, very productive session, and also really great to meet you. You know, especially because I've seen you in a lot of videos for a long time. So you know, it's like actually like be in a coaching session. But yeah, really good luck in Worlds. You know,
Thank
hope
you.
you do really well.
I'll try my best.
Yeah, yeah, and I know it's in San Francisco, but I'm probably I can't go. So either way, that's. I mean, I'll probably just be in the area. But
Cool.
yeah, good luck.
Thank you, man. I will talk to you.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
All right, gang. We did it. We made it through our first super long lesson, but I don't mind doing extra time. Let me tell you, I really don't mind doing extra time, especially in a situation like that where it's a student that's like really like hungry for knowledge, and I'm kind of in my groove. And if I give you 30 extra minutes, I'll do that all the time. And I never charge extra. Again, I'm to my own detriment because I could use the money, but it doesn't matter. I'm not doing it for the money. Money is just nice. All right, hit me with some questions because I don't want to just end the stream here. I want to go a little bit. Maybe I can hop into a Discord call with some people that are practicing. I'm inquiring to see if any of my super talented friends want to hang out for like 20 minutes. Ask me some questions. I need something to do. I have to figure out how to get the chat as like an overlay. I'm so bad at streaming. Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right. Unliked Bean, 3203. I feel like I have lost to a lot of RNG recently. I don't know if you feel like RNG is a big factor right now. I think that RNG is kind of always part of Pokemon. In fact, one of the fun things about it is going to sound really sadistic, but one of the fun things about it is being able to mitigate the risk. Like, life has so much risk and luck, and you know, a bird can poop on your head like at any point, literally at any point of the day. You get hit by lightning, your car breaks down. There's so many things that can happen. You know, company goes under, you're out of a job. So, you know, how you adapt and like stay ahead of all those situations, it's kind of applicable to Pokemon. And the same thing applies to RNG. Like, it's a skill to be able to prevent yourself from losing to a rock slide flinch by being so far ahead that you only lose to 3 and they only get 2. Same thing with the crit. I think that you don't want to play around crits unless it's a luxury and you can, or your strategy is really, really dependent on not getting critical hit, like, you know, protect the king. But yeah, I don't think that you know, RNG. It does feel a little bit more exacerbated because we're in a quote unquote rock slide meta, and you know, if every game you're going to play against the rock slide, you're going to get flinched a lot more. It's going to feel a lot worse. I booked Frankfurt and Nice from, I think it says Sibons, like an anagram of bisons, but would it be like Shibans? I booked Frankfurt and Nice. What would I be doing to prepare before I know anything about the regulation I'm playing? Nobody has the answer to that question because nobody knows what the regulation is going to be. And just improving at Pokemon in general, technically, in my opinion, I think the fastest, like the skill there's a lot of skills that are universal that translate between every single format. I think that utilizing your time and processing a lot of decisions and like practicing planning, coming up with game plans on the fly is very good use of your time. And then VOD review. Just look at VOD reviews, extrapolate from information because it's just practicing your processor. The faster you get, the more time you have every decision. Thoughts on Mega Metagross going into Worlds? I have no thoughts on Mega Metagross. Like, I want to have thoughts. I think that it's... I don't even think it's a sleeper pick. I doubt we see much of it. It's got to be like 1% or lower usage at Worlds. Maybe I'll play one or two. But let me tell you, I've played a lot of Showdown. And I haven't... And pretty much right now, I'm on the best of 3 ladder. I can imagine only people that are playing Showdown are... people that are going to Worlds and care. Okay, wait, hold on. We might have a fish. I'll finish my question in a second. The answer to the question is for Mega Metagross. I don't think that people are valuing like that Pokemon right now because the other Megas are really good. Really, really good. You have Mega Floette, Mega Zard, Mega Staraptor is proving really powerful, Mega Raichu, Mega Aerodactyl. Like, it's really difficult to justify using Mega Metagross over it. Mega Gengar, Mega Swampert. Even if Mega Metagross is really, really good, it's not so transcendently good that people are going to be using it. And again, it loses to technically one of the most powerful Mega in the format in Charizard and Garchomps on all these teams. So it just doesn't damage trade effectively enough, in my opinion. First event since Worlds 13. You do not get to play with people's team sheets. Technically, I guess you're allowed. Like, you could call a judge. If you were messing with my team sheet, I would call a judge on you. So don't do that. Oh, is it Nice? I'm gonna blindly trust that that's how you pronounce it. And then the next time I say it, somebody corrects me and it's nice. I'm gonna come find you. And we're gonna have a stern talk. Is the meta? No, you can lift it and look at it. You can reference it. I just meant like don't mess with it, you know? Hello.
Sorry, I hadn't scrolled up, so I couldn't see that you were actually in our disc. Hello.
Hello.
Yellow, yellow.
Say out of the stream. There's probably like 2 people watching, but
Hi, stream. Well, you'll post the recording, so maybe someday when you're a famous person and everyone's poring over all of the recordings of you that exist, it'll be, I'll be there.
Hey,
lurking.
Quick question. Don't lurk in the chat because they were just talking about this. What is the the new European regional that they just had registration for?
I don't remember which one it was, so perhaps I've already, ruined this. But yeah, I believe there was one recently. Sure.
Yeah. Do you know the name of it?
I don't remember. Is it Nice?
Oh my God!
The French one?
He's the smartest. This is Toller Webb, Dr. Webb.
It's me, Dr. Tolerate.
They corrected me. I called it nice, and they were like, "It's pronounced Nice."
Well, it would be nice if it was English, but it's French.
But that was a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. We're answering questions, so we're gonna pick Toller's brain as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Toller, how do you stop yourself from autopiling and making misplays? He doesn't.
Oh my God.
He doesn't. He just makes the misplays.
I am the worst. I'm the worst. I think every top player thinks that they're like terrible about this. Because one of the prerequisites for getting really good at, and I'm not necessarily calling myself a top player, but I have been good before, um, empirically. But one of the prerequisites for getting really good is playing a lot of games. And so by consequence, um, you end up having like this huge memory bank, and your brain has become super efficient at doing some very particular patterns and processing positions that way and all that. Um, so you end up autopiloting a lot just by virtue of having so much repetition. Like your brain just gets a little bit numb. Like you're still enjoying playing, but it's hard. The stuff that I do that helps me, because it's like the practice helps, you get better at the game and you become able to process positions more quickly, which is the important part. Um, but the thing that I do to kind of overcome the autopilot side of that um, is actually make my tournament play, like the games that matter, a lot different. Like fully approach-wise different from my ladder games or practice games a lot of the time. So there's like a tournament mode and a non-tournament mode. Um, and what I do in tournament games is like I take the full time every time, if I can. I'm sure if I go on stream at Worlds, I will accidentally rush a turn and then I'll kick myself on stream. But I try to take the full time every time that I can. Intentionally use like, especially for first 3 turns, use full timer. And then I have like a different system of thought that I use for high pressure games. So because I've done all that practice, I can go 3 or 4 turns deep pretty quickly in a line. So I'll do that, and my brain will kind of surface an intuitive response to the situation, which is the autopilot response. And I sort of imagine visually like it's in just like a room across from me, and I'm looking at it through a window. And then I intentionally look at like at least 1 or 2 other doors. Like, okay, but what if I didn't do that? What would be my next thing that I do?
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't do that, what would be the next thing I do if I have enough time? Doesn't always work out that well because sometimes I actually need to think about just figuring out door 1. But ideally, I'm considering a few different doors and thinking a few turns ahead in each one of them and then making a choice. And that kind of like, it's kind of impossible to autopilot. You have to basically like autopilot through each of those lines.
Yes.
To do them in time. So you train your autopilot so that you can calculate more options at once in a tournament set, basically.
Yeah. I think also there's a different interpretation of that question, which is you recognize that you're autopiloting and you're making a lot of misplays, and how do you like stop yourself from like kind of like tilting? And I think that you have to kind of have like a ritual. That's what I do at least.
Yeah.
When you mention like some people are really bad, most players would say that they're really bad at this. I'm one of the few exceptions in terms of admitting that. I think because I was really, really bad, and I worked on it a lot, and have executed it pretty well recently, where I can recognize in the moment I am struggling, I'm tilting, my emotional state is not stable, and my heart rate's going up, whatever, and I have to adjust. Part of it is like I have to fix my breathing. I know that a habit that I have is that I'm much more short of breath when I'm thinking. I also make sure to blink more, which may sound stupid, but I literally will keep my eyes open for too long, and it will literally add strain to my eyes, which, in case you didn't know, are important for a Pokemon tournament. And also, I will remind myself kind of like that I am in the ritual. I'm like, okay, I'm doing this ritual because I'm tilted. So that if I catch myself again, I can be like, all right, it didn't work. And if I don't fix it before the match ends, I have to go fix it before the next round. And sometimes you do that, and like even if you're winning, I think that's maybe the key to it too, is you have to recognize when it's happening even when you're doing well. Yeah.
I think you make a really good point there, Justin. Like moments of high emotion, like when you get really emotional while you're playing, and it's hard to get really good at the game without being too emotional about playing. Some people, but when you get really emotional while you're playing, get stressed, your heart rate goes up. Like there are physiological reasons why it's hard to be thoughtful in those circumstances and to do anything other than the autopilot thing. Justin, you saying you've been on stage before, like it's something that happens to singers all the time. It's like good singing technique involves very careful breath control and like intentional posture, all that sort of stuff. And when singers go up on stage and get stressed, like their breath speeds up. They're not like standing the right way. They're moving their hands around randomly, or they're not moving at all. They're still stiff as a statue. So like going through the engaging with the mind through the body is a really good way to keep yourself from emotionally autopiloting. I really like that thing to bring up, and it happens winning and losing. Just as you say, like I have panicked in many winning positions because I'm so excited about how I'm winning that I'm not thinking clearly.
Yeah, there's one of the things that I think is like a huge natural buff that's also fun to do that has nothing to do with Pokemon is if you can participate in any type of theater, whether it's
Yeah,
high school, college, community theater. Theater is like one of the hardest in terms of like if you're doing a solo as a musician and you have to dance in some cases and you have to memorize a bunch of lines depending on how big your role is. I did jazz and had like saxophone solos and stuff in high school, and going to theater and becoming like a singer, dancer, and actor was like it made doing the jazz solos way easier. Like my nerves were dissipating like so much more because I was so much more comfortable with more responsibility, and also there was like it was just much more practice doing it. Whereas like you're not in a band room constantly practicing like solos, standing up in front of like people that are judging you. It's more like everybody's doing music all at the same time, so you can blend more into the crowd. So yeah, I think that
yeah,
recognizing the emotional responses is super big. All right, next question: is Zard winning worlds?
that's a great question. Yeah, can you tell me? Actually, that would be really helpful. If Karis wins Worlds, he hates using Zard, and I don't know what team he's using, but I think if we assume Karis wins Worlds, then that means that Zard is less likely to win Worlds.
True. I don't
Um,
know where I'm at right now with that. I know a lot of people don't like using Zard, but right now I feel like a lot of people are using it.
it's such a weird Pokemon because I've said this to a lot of people, but Zard, when you're at the World Championship prep level, right? So like average person playing ladder, or like when I'm playing ladder and I don't care, Zard is okay. This thing is everywhere, yada yada yada. But like World Championship prep level, right? Zard is a Pokemon that's very counterable. From everything like Sweet Arcanine, Lycanroc, um, other Pokemon just having random rock moves, Glimmora, Aerodactyl, Shadow Tag plus Rain. Like there are a lot of reasons why Zard actually is very difficult to bring um, in a variety of matchups. And so like most Zard teams, if you look at them kind of closely, are designed around the idea that they will either need to mitigate Zard counterplay or they will not bring Zard all the time. So Big Six can bring Floette instead of bringing Zard, and your team stays the same identity, which is important. Um, like the Farigiraf Arrow stuff, like not only can you Mega Evolve the Arrow instead if you want to, but you can also play like a TR mode and not play through Zard, or TR lets Zard move before a lot of the Rock type move users. Um, so it's like there are a lot of good Zard teams because Zard does just a ton of damage and is controlling weather. But Zard is also a Pokemon that like really counters or is really easy to counter. So like basically my big picture answer is like I think it's reasonable that a Zard team will win Worlds. I think if as a spectator you should be really curious about the different ways that either the Zard team mitigates Zard's weaknesses or plays without Zard. Um, and that should be something that's really on your mind. And there are also just a lot of good non-Zard teams. A lot of the Staraptor teams don't have Zard. Frostlasso doesn't have Zard. Um, every Delphox team obviously doesn't have a Zard because that would be two floating fire types. And these are all teams that are very capable of competing at the highest level. I mean, VR was just won by Delphostoise.
True. Um, wait, Zard might win worlds in the same way Lunala won worlds last year. I forgot Lunala won. It's Geo.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was on his team, but it was like it's almost like it wasn't on that team.
I think that team was just Geochishki. I think he just kind of rolled up and put his hands in the game and started messing around. He's so good.
Well, Zard was not as popular as Lunala was not as popular as Zard is. It's for a mega to take up 30% of the total market share of Pokemon is crazy.
Absolutely.
And also, again, I think it's just so good. Even if it's not easy to use, because everybody tries to counter it, it's so strong that it doesn't matter. That's
It is
usually
so
a
much
crazy
upgrade
sign.
damage. Well, it's also a Pokemon that's. I think like if you play Champions Ladder, you don't actually fight that many Zard because it's really hard to use it in closed sheets, but it gets a lot better in open sheets where you know exactly what threats you have to counterplay.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Um, all right, next one was how do you get better at complicated branching path endgames? I am finding that there are 4+ branching paths with protects, priority mix-ups. Do you have to study them and develop heuristics and patterns? So,
Mm.
great question. We got a grad school student there, I can tell. Heuristics, that's the dead
Smart person.
giveaway.
Yeah. Though, well, there's another one. I think Justin, you've probably told people in the chat all about heuristics and speeding through some of those lines to get deeper faster. So I won't belabor that point. But I also want to bring up a very important technique that I think every really good player uses, which is backwards logic or thinking backwards. So when you're considering, because like part of the issue is you can go, you can use heuristics to get deeper into a line, but you're wasting time if you're considering a line that doesn't actually win the game. Um, so the way that I really prefer to do it when I'm having to consider a lot of different possibilities at once is to start from the end of the game that I want to get to and then walk backwards a little bit so I know what lines can go in that direction. Because
Mm-hmm.
the goal is to never have to consider more than 3 lines at once, if you can help it.
Yeah, no,
So
that's great.
yeah, I think in game first and then focus on the turn you're on. Always keep the end game like it's pulling you towards it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. That's a little bit. That's a very high level thing. I actually don't tell people that
Yeah,
at medium and like intermediate levels and below. Mostly because I'm your priority is figuring out what is like a bad play first, and a lot of
yeah,
people are bad at identifying that. And then I think it's more important to be able to try and extrapolate as much as you possibly can before you dilute it. And what you're talking about is the dilution process, but it's a really good strategy. It's one of the best actually. I think everybody does it, and there's a couple of ways of doing exactly what you just talked about, but one of the most rigid ways you can do it is like, all right, here's the possibilities that I think are winning boards and winning end games for me. How
yep,
easy is it to make option A or B? If there's a C and D too, sometimes there are. You pick the ones that you like, and you go down that route. And then sometimes the mid game, you got a read wrong, a crit, whatever, it changes, and then it changes, and you have to kind of recognize when you have to do that. Sometimes recalculate,
recalculate
but
the end game.
but
Yeah,
walking down that path is a very good way of describing it because you can recognize when it changes, and if it's not
yeah,
changing, then you're only looking at the possibilities kind of down that path.
yeah. That's kind of what makes Pokemon interesting is that the path, because of luck or variance or decision ambiguity, like the path frequently changes, and then you have to recalculate. So from like if you're only interested in doing Pokemon logic, it's a fun game to do. Justin, if you'll indulge me, like I feel like we're talking about this and it makes perfect sense to us, but it'd be good to mention an example. And we can use Charizard as an example, right? So imagine that you're trying to win the game and you have a Charizard on your team. Your opponent has a Garchomp on their team. Um, and this is going to get a little bit higher level than just Charizard, but stick with me here. So your opponent has a Garchomp on their team. You have a Charizard on your team. You know you need to beat, let's say you need to use your Charizard to beat, let's say, their King Gambit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that means, in the weirdest way possible, you have to generate a situation. Let's say your Charizard dies to Rock Slide. You have to generate a situation where Charizard never takes a Rock Slide. So how do you generate that situation? Um, for example, you might, let's say you're playing Sylveon. We'll not use Flood because everyone uses Flood. Um, you might, for example, generate a situation where you get a Hyper Voice onto the Chomp. Or if you haven't seen Chomp yet, you might intentionally preserve your Sylveon despite it having a good attack so that it doesn't lose too much HP to fight the Chomp later. So you might switch it out on an otherwise like reasonable board, like it's going to trade evenly. And you say, no, I need Sylveon to stay alive so that I can fight Chomp so that my Zard can win the game. Like a
Yeah.
3-step process.
Yes, that's
Um,
huge.
and it's also something that when I play, Whimsicott, I'm using a lot of Whimsicott lately. When I play Whimsicott, this is a really good one because when you Moonblast Chomp with Whimsicott, it doesn't KO it. But if you set up a situation where you can click Tailwind, then Zard gets a speed advantage, so you can Moonblast the Chomp early in the game, switch out the Whimsicott, for example, and then later in the game bring Whimsicott back in, set Tailwind, and then Chomp is effectively already KO'd by
Yes.
Heatwave. So you can do a lot of that where you set up boards multiple turns in advance because you know what Pokemon you'll need to fight to win the game.
That is where Pokemon is the most chess-like. Your opponent is, pushing their rook into a specific spot, and then maybe they're focusing on their other pieces. If you know that at any point, if the rook moves, you're going to take it because of your position. I'm not a chess guy. I actually know nothing about chess, but
there's a rook. Yeah.
I know the pieces at least. It's like a personality quirk that I don't dive into like the chess world because I like playing against people that are really good at chess and then like seeing how I do against them with no chess knowledge. But that's very weird. Yeah. I played competitive Smash and it ruined it like at a casual level. So I'm a chess casual. It's very funny.
I'm also a chess casual. Realistically, I'm very bad at chess. There's just a lot of calculation that you have to do.
Yeah, you have to like really dive into it and like love and study the game. I never loved it. Like it never like spoke to me. But thank God Tyranitar did.
Big friend. Yeah, but basically, like, when you get really good at thinking backwards, you can push knobs and levers, and that's when you watch really good players and you're like, why the hell did they make that move? That's usually why, is they're thinking about way later in the game. It's like, okay, no, I need your Sylveon to have taken exactly 15% HP or more so that I can KO it later with X or Y attack, and it'll happen multiple turns in the future. Happened a lot, right, guy?
Awesome. That was somebody, I don't know if you can see the chat, somebody said that was $400 coaching tier advice, which they didn't say until you said anything, but it was really good, so I can't even disagree.
It's hard to execute, but it's really useful. If you want to be very strong macro-wise, that is the thing to practice.
All right, so we're going to answer a couple more, and then we're cutting off. We're cutting off now. That's it. No more questions. Keep them to yourselves. Save them for the next stream. I'm gonna go grab food and then I'll be back.
Okay.
So we got 2 left.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and dip. I've got to make dinner, but thanks for having me on.
All right, let's get through these ones a little.
Oh, 2 questions left, or
yes,
2 people left?
No, 2 left.
Oh, well, I can answer some questions. That's fine. Yeah, sweet. Sorry, I misunderstood you. I just want to make your life as hard as possible.
No, yeah, okay. This is the guy that said, "Sure, I'll join in and talk on your stream for $0 and nothing, just because you love me, love hanging out." All right, so there was a first one. What are the main differences between a pretty good player and a great player? Let's say world level. What are the most important things a good player should do to make the jump? Well, if you get the chance to go back and look at the lesson that I just did towards the end, in the question section, I went over this exact question. And I didn't talk about it in exactly that lens, but I said basically one of the biggest steps is that we are we love the process of preparing for the tournament that tests us. Finding a way to love the body of work that you do is the main edge that I think makes good players good. Not necessarily their skill, the people that love working hard at the game. And then how you organize and like make basically yourself as sharp of a knife to cut on tournament day as possible. You want to be the sharpest tool that you can be, and that's organization, that's planning, and then working all of those skills. And I really actually went really in depth on that, so we'll actually literally just go back a couple. Do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, process is huge. Basically, like nothing like I'm going to mention a few practical things, but nothing practical matters if you don't have a strategy in place to get over the line on that. I'll share a few characteristics of world's quality players, stuff that sometimes surprises me about myself, that can be a good benchmark. So a world's quality player is usually capable of calculating a position forward 3 turns with minimal, like, you almost don't need to ask them to do it. So like if you're playing a practice set with a world's quality player, like if I play Justin, you need to converse he will have considered 3 turns forward from the position that we're in, and I know that he has because of the plays that he makes, right? He does it almost automatically. And the way that you build that skill is literally by playing enough games, have seen the Pokemon enough, be able to anticipate positions enough, and as you keep playing games, you'll keep getting better at automatically calculating outcomes, not just memorizing damage calcs, but memorizing how Pokemon interact, um, and so forth. And the other thing that comes to mind, I mean, aside from being able to pick good teams, which is really hard, um, but the other skill is exactly what I was just talking about: high quality macro play, which I don't think all Worlds players. I think plenty of people qualify for Worlds. Justin, I don't know if you feel the same way about this. Plenty of people qualify for Worlds, not being strong macro players and basically being good at winning turns.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
yeah, a lot of people make it just being good at winning turns and sort of stumbling in a macro either intuitively or accident.
Hmm.
Um, but like, yeah, high quality macro play, knowing win conditions and knowing how to identify win conditions quickly and in complex situations. So a world's quality player will, if I'm playing them in a practice set, they'll be able,
Oh,
and I'll be able to tell them what position I want to get to if we like stop the set in the middle. So that's kind of like two benchmarks: automatic calculation and macro understanding.
yeah. The best example that I compare it to is like athleticism. Like people that are really freakish athletes, they don't necessarily play the same because they can just do things that other people can't. And it doesn't necessarily make them great at what they do. So like if you are 6'9" and you can dunk from the free throw line, and there's nobody that can defend you if you get to a certain spot in the paint. Um, your a whole element of your game is just getting to the paint, and then as soon as you're there, you're gonna score. In basketball, in Pokemon, I think that like freakish athleticism takes the like basically when you just see people make like crazy plays on stream and like they're just like extremely aggressive, it kind of takes the form of like risk reward, and sometimes it's macro, like it does have a layer of macro to it, but sometimes also it's just like they're gonna go for the play that they think is gonna win. It's like almost a cavalierness to it.
Yeah, that's harder. I mean, you get it from playing a lot of games, but it's also harder to have the mentality to take those kinds of risks. The stuff that's like trainable is the speed of calculation and game stuff, and then what sort of plays you actually end up making comes down to your style and how your practice has affected you, I think.
Yeah,
Still a lot of
absolutely.
individuals in there.
All right, last question. We technically got one more. They're both good questions. These are good. How do you set goals that are both realistic and will help you improve in a meaningful way? Obviously, I can't just set a goal to win a regional, but I also don't really know how to not set a low goal.
Oh, I love this question. Yeah.
I'll give
Justin, you want to go first?
my bullet points are going to be that you need to be able to change your goals and not beat yourself up over it. I think, like, if you ever worked in any type of corporate atmosphere, you have like stretch goals. So it's okay to want to set a goal to win a regional. I think even if you're terrible at the game, that you should do that. But you should also be okay with like it not happening, and being able to modify it. Be like, go throw yourself into the mix, be overconfident, and then get smacked up and be like, all right, I have a lot to work on. Maybe let's try to get to day 2 first. I think that's totally fine. So be willing to change your goals kind of as things go on. It also is a good measuring stick for like how to kind of forgive yourself, and give yourself grace, because like sometimes we get busy, sometimes we get sick, we have less time to prepare, and you can learn to kind of like gauge what you are as a player with the amount of time that you have, or given certain circumstances, how many tournaments you get to go to. So yeah, being able to modify your goals is a big one. And then I would also say that like the only other thing I would say is don't tether your how you view yourself or like how you feel about your ability to play Pokemon to your results,
Yeah.
because you have to be able to analyze what you're doing, and it's not always going to work. Sometimes there's RNG elements. Sometimes it's you got the meta call wrong. Things shift. You had a disconnect. There's a million reasons why you didn't win a tournament, and why winning. And conversely, the opposite too. There's been plenty of people. I mean, Emilio won LA, and Emilio is not somebody that's not deserving of that win, but he freaking got insanely
Phenomenal.
lucky
Yeah.
in those top 4 and final sets, and he admitted it. He's like, he got lucky.
Yeah, I think all of Wolf's recent wins have had either like some ridiculous luck, like even his top four he had in the IC had like important luck against Marcus Fiat,
Mhm.
or his opponents have missed like always winning lines. Some of them not very complicated, some of them moderately complicated, but like sometimes opponents make mistakes and you get lucky, and sometimes you make mistakes and your opponents get or you get lucky. Like it just depends.
Yeah, I mean, and that happens, especially over the course of a tournament. I would say honestly, though, the exception to that's Toronto. Toronto was cinema,
Dude,
but-
he was killing it at Toronto.
Toronto
It
was
one of his
cinema.
best looks.
It's honestly, it's rare that like, oh, somebody didn't get lucky when they won a tournament, like,
Yeah.
or like it doesn't. It's more rare than it isn't, because yeah, like people are gonna make mistakes all the time, and also like the regional competition level is different than a national or whatever, and also metagame lens too, right? So like we've dealt with Sneasler now forever, and tons of other different RNG elements. Now we have a rock slide meta. So, but Toronto's like the one in recent memory that I'm like, all right, I don't think that anything crazy happened, and the level of play was so high too. So
Yeah, I think I won when I won Knoxville. I always say that I got pretty lucky with that tournament, but it wasn't like I got like a bunch of crits or anything. I didn't get any crits. The main thing was that I pulled an auto win matchup 3 times,
yeah,
and one of them was in top 8 after having played the person in day 2, which might have been a bad thing, except it was an auto win matchup, so I automatically won.
yeah.
So sometimes it's just matchups, sometimes it's more.
Honestly,
actually-
sometimes you're on the receiving end of it too. Like,
Yep.
Charlotte was one of the luckiest tournaments I've ever had in my life. At like just very, very crucial moments, I would say. I think even if I played 90% phenomenally of the tournament, I also that 10% was nice.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I was going to say too is you can be like playing your absolute best, lights out, and like fighting through bad RNG, and then like this is a tournament you should have won, or and then and to me that was like Knoxville, and I'm like, damn, like I was playing so well, and it's just these small things that happen. You miss an icy.
You hit all your hydro pumps.
You hit all your hydro pumps too. Don't you gotta keep the propaganda up, bruv.
The proper hydro pump. Building off of that, right? Because the main point that we're making there, right, is like results are kind of out of your control. My actual hot take on goals is that you should never, like, if you want to be really good at the game, you should not make your goal. Like, it's nice to use results as checkpoints. Be like, okay, this is a good indicator of how I'm getting along in my goals. But you should never make your goals results based. You should always make them play based. So, like, rather than saying, I made this mistake, but it's okay because I still won, or like, I didn't like this play, but it's okay because I won, or I made a meta call that was really risky, but it's okay because I still day 2'd. Like, if you played hard TR in a tournament and in 2024, where it's like kind of a team that demands matchup fishing and like very hard reads that are hard to replicate, like you should set goals that are performance based, not goals based. You should say, I want to say after this tournament that I had a repeatable, like, reasonable system where I maximized my odds for winning. And in every place where I didn't maximize my odds, I should think carefully about how I can improve that in the future. Or like in a specific game, like, okay, I might have won this game because I got the rock slide flinch at the end, but how could I have avoided needing the rock slide flinch? Or as I've heard Justin say all the time when he's doing very high level prep, sorry to leak this for you, Justin, but like Justin's like, how can I avoid even the possibility of getting unlucky, right? Like, when you get, as you're getting very good, you deal with bad outcomes so frequently from RNG that it stopped being, like, luck stops being about actually actively getting lucky, like getting your own rock slide flinch, and starts being about, having avoided getting unlucky. So, like, if I make plays that don't cover for me getting heat wave burned or me getting rock slide flinched, that's kind of a mistake if I had a way around it. So, basically not focusing on the outcome of the games and not focusing on the outcome of the tournaments even, and just focusing on what plays you actually made and how good they were relative to the circumstance, I think is actually a lot better. And sort of the upshot of that, right, is if you focus on that and you focus on becoming the best player you can be, or focus on meeting the play goals that you want to meet, like how do I become more consistent? How do I rely on reads less hard? How do I actually make reads more? Those sorts of play-based goals. The results kind of come naturally outside of that. And you can scale play-based goals infinitely. Whereas results goals, you're like, okay, I won the tournament I wanted to win. What do I do now? Which I've won worlds before. That was a weird experience. Um, you know, at some point you run out of tournaments to win, or tournaments that are within your driving distance or monetary range, or et cetera, to win. Um, but play-based goals make the game satisfying and interesting far beyond any individual result. So yeah, that's my answer. Especially as you get move beyond the intermediate level, just focus on being as perfect as you can with every play choice you make.
Yeah, it's interesting too to hear that last bit of perspective that, like, you're the Triple Crown winner, and it was in seniors, but that's still the highest peak, right? Is the World Championship. So,
Yeah,
is your next goal to win in Masters? Some people won't have that goal once they've done it once in seniors, right? I wonder
yeah,
when Kevin Hahn ages up into Masters if he wants to win in Masters, because he's done it twice in two different divisions already. So, but I mean, I also like, we there's like a funny quote I think Wolf had where he was in an interview. He's like, I think you have to be a little bit delusional to believe that you can win the World Championships, but that's like a good thing, and I 1,000% agree. I might be botching it a little bit, but I 100% agree with that. Where it's like, I believe I can win the World Championships, even though it's almost impossible odds to do that. It's like
yeah.
more likely that I get hit by lightning, or maybe not more likely, but it's probably in the same realm, like some of the ballpark of that. So, also the
Yeah, I think
funniest
no
comment
matter
in
how good you
response to
are.
what we were talking about was Sivan saying non goal based goals, and like the note taking emoji is
Not
cracking
results
me up.
based goals. Not results based goals.
I
Jeez.
think they got it. That was funny.
Yeah, I think they figured it out.
That's a very meta joke. I love it. All
Love
right,
that. Yeah.
I'll let you go. Thank you for joining in, everybody. I'm gonna come back in a bit. I have another lesson in like 40 minutes, but I'm gonna go get food in my body, and then maybe we'll get some other friends in between lessons as well. We have like a 3-4 hour lesson right in a row. So thank you for joining,
Yeah.
Toller. You are the best. Love you. You're handsome.
Yeah, you're the
and
best,
jacked
man.
and great at Pokemon. So
I'm not jacked right now, but thank you. I've been just managing practice and work. But I'm trying my best. All right. Thanks everyone for the questions, and thank you, Justin, for letting me on. I'll go.
see ya.
Peace.